Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So welcome to the third day, first session of third day, and our resource person has already joined. So let's hand over the mic to Professor Dr. Punyashree Panda from IIT Bhubaneswar. Professor Panda, if you are ready.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam. Good morning.
Am I audible to all of you?
You are audible, madam.
Right. Okay, sir.
How about the PPT? Are you going to share the PPT or shall I share it from my side?
Well, I have shared it too. I'll try to share. If I have issues, I'll let you know. Is it fine?
Sir, again, there is a problem of echo today.
When I am unmuted, then there is echo. So once I mute, once as a host I mute it, then there won't be any echo. Okay.
Can I see participants switch on their cameras, please? Because this is the third session I'm taking, except for one or two people, I have not seen their faces. I really appreciate if you can switch on your cameras. And I'd really like to see my friends in this audience. Yes, okay. Thank you, Dr. Vikas Kumar. Is that Vikas Kumar? Because, yes, I have seen you on video. Okay. Thank you.
I'm trying, but it is not happening. Just
Dr. Singham. Okay, fine, all right. But if you can switch on your videos, I would really like to see you because this is my last opportunity to see you. And we will not have any more sessions after this. So I really appreciate Dr. Sethi, Priyanka Sethi. We have interacted yesterday. It's always helpful to associate a face with a voice. So so that maybe in future, if we meet somewhere, if our roads meet, if our paths cross, then we will be able to see and recognize each other and not say, the sound is familiar, I have heard this voice, but I don't know if I have met you, right? So thank you for switching on your videos and yes, Sujata, Tripati Kumar, Koili, yes, Koili madam, yes, I have seen you first session, I guess.
Actually, I am logged in through mobile, and whenever I am trying to.
It's fine. If you're not able to log in your camera, that's fine. All right. So thank you very much. I have to log out from one device. There is some kind of echo problem with WebEx elements. All right. So let's begin then. How is your FTP going? Because you're probably in the mid of the program already, and I'm sure you're learning well and you're enjoying your time, even though it's virtual, right? So how's it going? It's going good. Very good.
Yes.
Extremely good.
Yes, it is good.
It's very good. All right.
Learning quite new insights into many things. Like decision making, as we normally see, it's a general normal activity, but now we have got in-depth information and the tools and reasons why we should take it a very serious activity. Like we were asked to prepare something and give maybe 1 minute some oral presentation. So if you allow me, then I'll try to say something on that.
Yeah, sure. You see, just imagine if it was
sorry to interrupt. The oral presentation is assigned for the third session of today, which is going to be handled by Professor. So that will be on. Okay, that is the assignment given by the resource person for the third session. Please don't have any confusion. We will have the oral presentation in third session.
So my students
Yeah, we do have oral communication in our classes every day. We interact. So I wanted to see the faces as well when we are interacting. The point is that if it was a physical activity, should I say physical, offline, whatever, if you had visited the place, if you had stayed together for a week, you would have probably made friends for life. You know, you will remember that before the pandemic, when you went for a training program or when you went for a study tour, you would meet these wonderful people, new people in a new setting. The city would be fresh, the place where you live would be fresh, and you would meet friends. All right. So this opportunity you can also use to make virtual friends who you probably will meet later. So I would really appreciate that you do interact with each other, you do try to keep in touch and create a community, because this is helpful in the sense that we learn from each other. Peer learning is something that is very, very essential. And so when you learn, when you go into the world, you try to make a decision, you try to become fruitful for your organization, you are putting your own efforts, your own experience. But when you meet people like this, we're meeting about 100 people here, and then suddenly there is a spurt of information. There's a lot of information that goes on. There's a lot of experience that comes to this kind of a forum, and you can all learn from each other instead of just focusing or just depending on your own skills. You can also learn from other people's experiences and skills, and that's very vital for a training program to succeed. So, so in today's session also we will talk about peer experience examples, because that's something I value a lot in training programs. We need to learn from each other. That's something that cannot be denied. Right. So having said that, let us go to the session. Today's topic is options for effective decision making. We have been talking about decision making techniques, and yesterday we talked about ethics and how decision making has a role to play in ethics. So today we will focus on what you call as options for effective decision making. So let me share. Yes. Are you able to see the slide? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
It's visible. Thank you very much. Right. So, options for effective decision making. Somebody's, yeah, Dr. Sage, can you please mute yourself? Because there is some echo problem if somebody else switches on. Right. So, we're talking about options for effective decision making. And as we begin, I would like to go back to you and find out what you think of in terms of options. So this is the plan for today. What makes an effective decision maker is something we will arrive at by discussing your own experiences. Then we will talk about programmed and non-programmed decisions. The next part will focus on some strategies for both individuals and groups, because we work as individuals and we also work in groups all the time, groups and teams. So effective decision making strategies that can be helpful in your work life or even in your personal life. So this is something that we need to keep in mind, that we work and we decide as individuals as well as teams. So we need to know how we can decide as an individual and how we can decide when we are working in groups. And then we will focus on some barriers to effective decision making. The final part would be talking about peer experiences, right? So let's begin then. Let's talk about options. I would really like to know about this from you. So think about a time when you had several options from which you had to choose, but none of them were sufficient to meet your goal. So how did you decide which option to follow? So please come and respond to this. Please think for a minute about a time when you had a decision to make, and there were many options available, but none of these options were sufficient to meet your goal. So how did you decide which path to follow, which option to follow? All right. So let us hear from you what experience you had regarding this, where you had several options from which you could choose. But the problem was that it was not sufficient to meet your goal, and then you came with a decision. So how you went ahead with the decision? What made you go ahead with that particular decision? And let's hear from the participants. So can you please come ahead and speak, participants?
Okay. Ma'am, can I say?
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, being a primary teacher, many a time for I need to choose the children for house competition. Being a house mistress, I have to choose the children. So never I get the perfect child who will have a presentation skill, voice modulation, good sweet voice and everything. So every time I have to see, but I give priority to the presentation skill and I choose the children.
Thank you, Majumdar ma'am. Thank you, Kohli ma'am. Yes, with teaching young children, yes, it's a challenge because you have to hone their skills and you have to give a little more in terms of your physical presence to the students. But on the other hand, if you look at the other perspective also, I guess it's a job that has its own challenges, and that is not very. It's not thought of as a hard job, but it's actually very hard because you find all the children enthusiastic and curious, and you don't know which one to exclude and which one to include. So that is a tough part of your decisions. Whereas if you talk about teachers at the higher level, say for instance, teachers teaching adult students, the problem is exactly the reverse. You don't know which student would participate because most of them would not be interested to participate. Right. Yes. So how did you meet your goal? Like focusing on presentation skills, did you focus on something else as well?
Most of the things I divide my decision. I divide my needs accordingly, and which child meets the maximum requirement, I choose them.
All right. Okay, thank you. So I'm getting some responses here as well in the chat box. Options which take closest to the goal from Manisha Winter. Can you take us for a tour about how you went ahead with this, Ms. Mittal? All right. I guess probably I'm not on.
Yes, ma'am. Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. Good morning. Manisha
Yes,
here. Yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
I think I was just summarizing what Koili ma'am is saying. Like when we don't have options which completely help us to meet the goal, then I think we should make best out of what is available to us.
Okay.
So we can always build on the options. We can just look at the options which can take us closest to our goals, and from there we can build on it to reach the goal.
Can you talk about something in more concrete terms, like something that you actually did which took you closest to the goal, where there were many options available?
I'm also a teacher, ma'am. I teach middle and secondary students, like from 6 to 10. And the competition thing also came to our mind. Like when we are building a team for a project, then we find out the students with the best possibilities they have, but many times we are not able to have all the things in the team. Then we groom the students so that we are able to reach the goal.
Okay. Dr. Sethi, you mentioned that we look at the responses received in the past. So our decisions are informed by our past experience. Is that what you mean to say?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a physiotherapist, and though being a clinician, I'm teaching the graduates and the undergraduate students as well, the postgraduates and the undergraduate students. So I can put up two examples in this case. First, related to my clinical aspect. So whenever we have to treat a patient, say the diagnosis is not clear at that point of time. So we would have the various differential diagnosis where some of the symptoms are similar to the presenting complaint, but that is not making up the correct diagnosis. So taking up those differential diagnoses into the consideration and relating it to the present complaint of the patient, we pick out that particular treatment which is similar to that particular condition so that we can treat the patient accordingly. So if we are getting good results with that, we are getting the compliance and we are getting effective treatment results, we can continue and we can add on the treatment protocols accordingly so that the patient can be recovered. That is one thing. The second thing is when we comes to the teaching platform, so that time, see, there are various teaching strategies that we do have, right? We have a blended learning, we have a classroom learning, we have the online classes this time. So we used to take the feedback from the students, which teaching strategies have been opted by them, how comfortable they are with our learning platforms. So accordingly, we make out in which platform they have responded better, where they have achieved the good results. So where the learning has come up positively for their theoretical aspect as well as for the practical aspects. So according to that feedback analysis, we can make out that which can be the better option. So I think this is which I can frame for the teaching part now. That's it.
That's well. I mean, every profession has its own challenges, and for a physiotherapist, a lot of times situation is very delicate. I would say you face challenges that are a lot of times unprecedented. You have not seen this case before. You have not understood this particular person's preferences or lack of interest or something like that. And that can be also challenging in terms of patient doctor contact. So yes, that's the whole point. You see, that if you talk across professions, we'll find that decision making is not something that's that can be taken as one size fits all. It's a very, very dynamic procedure. As I have already mentioned, it is dynamic and it is challenging at the same time. Okay, we have Rinku Agarwal who would like to share her views. Yes, please go ahead, Rinku Agarwal. Ma'am, can you please go ahead?
Good morning, ma'am. Am I audible?
Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I have joined this FDP because I am too much confused with my career right now. Though I'm working from last 8 years to this university, which is the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. But because I'm not able to clear my NET exam, which is a eligibility required to be an assistant professor, I was little bit confused this time that whether I should continue doing my profession or whether I should take a break to have sufficient reading for my uh, exam, which is going to be held in December as well as in October. I have applied for 2 exams. But when I talked with my friends, with my parents, with myself when I was alone, I draw a decision that being a mother, being a wife, I think I can try waking up early or going to bed late night to bed and keep my extra reading related to net, but I should not quit job because at the end, probably for someone, I may be the role model to my students or to the women who are working over here. So that is the decision I had came across that yes, just quitting the job will not suffice to get my net clear. So I am with that decision, and yes, this workshop of this third day had helped me a lot. The video which you have shared the first day, that it's in our mind whether we want to do it or not. If I say that I don't want to clear it, that is the reason I'm not able to clear it. But yes, this time I'm hoping that yes, I want to clear net, and if I will clear this time, then it's basically this mindset within ourselves which keep ourselves towards success.
Thank you, Ms. Agarwal. Thank you for sharing your view and such a personal decision on this platform. I'm sure there are more people who have such decisions to make, who are in the crossroads of life. They have to choose between this and that. And of course, whatever decision you take, you have to live with that. So that is something that you need to understand. So afterwards, after say a couple of years or after 5 years, when you look back at this decision, you have to live with the result of it. Whatever the result comes, you have to live with it. So that is the thing. That is what you have to focus your energies on right now. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So let's go to the next question that I have in mind here, which is occasion. Abish Kumar, can you please unmute yourself? Thank you very much. Think about an occasion when you needed to choose between 2 or 3 seemingly equally viable paths to accomplish a goal. And how did you make a decision about which path to follow? So this is the opposite of the earlier question. In the earlier discussion, we talked about options that were insufficient to meet your goal. Now we have to talk about options that are seemingly equal, seemingly viable, all of them viable. Then you have to choose an option that that works for you, or that you want to live with. So can I get some responses from participants, please, regarding a time when you had to make a decision and there were these 3, 4, 5 options that were available to you, all of which looked pretty good, looked good enough to reach your goal, but then you had to make a decision. All right. So can you please come ahead and talk about that?
Ma'am, can I continue with what I have said just now?
Yes, you can please go ahead. And then I would also require everybody else to come out.
Yeah.
So yes, please go ahead, Rinku madam, and then we'll listen to others.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, when I have thought that I will be not quitting the job, first thing, being a mother, I won't get that much time at my own place to read a lot regarding my NET and SLET exam. So the mindset which I have come across is that though I am working right now, probably I may get probably a 1 hour or 1.5 hour to myself to read for this, and as well as I'm doing my PhD with teaching. So I'm taking time over here to do my things personally in the department. So yes, with the 4 5 decisions, I have decided to be keep on working as an teaching assistant in the university and holding hands of clearing the net and pursuing my PhD with the same. So that's
Thank
how
you.
I made a path to follow.
I hope that you also see, one thing is that taking a decision, the other is that to live with the outcome of it. So I hope that you were ready to live with the outcome of it. A lot of times we look at a decision in the hindsight and we assume that maybe I shouldn't have done this, maybe I should have done that. So effective decision making is something that has no space for hesitancy. Okay, there is no space for hesitation of any kind in future. All right, so we have to live with the decision. What do we do? Right? So yes, Dr. Sinha, we're saying great session. Thank you very much for that. Can I get more responses, please, regarding your experience of decision making, where there were options available galore? You had many options to choose from, but you chose one, and why you chose that one? Right? Can you, yes, can I, thank you very much. Can I please get responses from other participants as well? I'm sure you have done, you've taken tons of decisions in your life, and you can share 1 or 2 here, right?
Ma'am, I can tell you about the same thing, that
Yes,
when
yes,
we are choosing children for various competitions, sometimes 2 very good children come. So
yes.
that
So you
are
have multiple,
those are the 2 options which are equally viable.
right,
Then,
right. So
then
sometimes
there is a how I make the decision.
First, you're spoiled for plenty. You have so many options, that you're not sure which ones to go with, right?
At least 2 children. Suppose I have to select children for the quiz competition. So, 2 very good, very equally viable children are there in front of me, but I have to choose only one.
Right.
So,
Okay.
such thing comes. Then I used to talk to other teachers and take a decision.
Okay. Yes. So then you depend on other team members for making decision. So when you're individually you're not able to decide, then you depend on a team, right?
Correct.
We'll talk about that as well. Anybody else who would like to please come up with responses regarding these parts?
May I?
Yes.
I'm Sujata from Andhra Pradesh. I'm very happy to be with you all here, listening to the experiences of teachers, women who learned paper. It's like, heterogeneous team where we shift over from personal to social experiences to professional. So I just would like to speak as a woman rather as a teacher, rather as an academician. So I practice classical dance. I'm a teacher by profession, teach English language communication skills at a professional graduate college. I have 2 kids, one is 8 years old and the other one is 3 years old. So I need to balance all these things, take decision to prioritize the things. Being women, multitasking for others may sound a bit simple, but we know how much pressure we take and the consequences that really ends up with our health complications at the end of the day. Yes, this modern lifestyle has really, made everything so mechanical where we need to take space even to live our lives. If not, it is mere existing, I guess. Okay. So I've done my certificate course in Bharatanatyam and need to proceed on with my diploma course in Bharatanatyam. I'm doing PhD, trying my best to get settled a bit more. Well, I'm 31 years old now, but still I'm so happy with the kind of financial stability that I have. I would like to be more independent, with which I can extend my helping hand to many more. So, it's like different kinds of things that I would like to do with a lot of determination, but having 24 hours a day, managing health, kids, and all these things. So, I just like these 3 things. As you mentioned, 2 to 3 seemingly equally viable paths. I have 3: career, my passion, dance, and kids at home, my family. All the 3 are to be equally given importance. Which one that I can leave off? So I need to take a decision because I can be mother and I'm the only one with whom they expect a lot of emotional attachment. The time that they left over for the day need to be spent with parents. So I just took kids as my first priority. That's my decision. Though I need to take a lot of care with my career and the challenges, need to make myself competent enough. And of course, I can't leave my passion even aside, my dance. I just would like to pursue it. I need to make myself more confident in that. So 3 viable things. I choose my lovely kids as my first priority. That's the best decision I think that I ever taken. And would take time, obviously, age is just a number. So if I'll be 40 plus, my children will be more independent. So they'll be taking care of themselves. They'll be a bit more matured. Of course, mother has need at every time of her life. But I think my role would be a bit low. The time that is spent as well, the time they need to spend with me would be a bit less, where the remaining 2 can be focused a bit more, I guess. So this is that I would like to share with you all. So happy to.
Thank you very much, Sujata. That's a very holistic way of looking at your own decisions and being happy about your decisions. So that is something that you need to also focus on, to live in peace with whatever you decide. Right. So now let's go to what makes an effective decision maker. I just had one more question because I understand that some of you have the ability or are in the position to hire people, because in the first day, I think Mr. Kedia was talking about hiring and how they had to decide about this particular client, this particular employee who was loyal, but they had hired a new one. So when it is something as crucial as hiring, if you have the chance to hire a new employee, what criteria would you determine who to hire, and how do you come to this decision? How do you decide who to hire? Anybody who would like to talk about hiring, recruitment, especially people who are in teacher administrator roles? Maybe if you're a principal, or if you're head of the institution, or head of the school, or have some kind of a hiring job or hiring responsibility as a part of your profile.
Yes.
Would you like to share it? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Sunny said this side from Jim's Rohini, New Delhi.
Yes, please.
Am
Yes,
I audible?
please. Yes, good morning. Please speak.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, these days I am into the hiring process of hiring one quantitative aptitude trainer in our college. I am a mathematics faculty here.
Right. Please go
So
ahead.
basically, what we are looking in the prospective candidate is, first of all, the experience that he has either given some of the papers for which we are recruiting him or her, and then the way of handling the class, the subject knowledge, and how interactive and communicative the person is. So there are various set of parameters which we are actually looking at. The mentorship qualities, whether he or she can mentor the students effectively or not. Yes, ma'am.
So these criteria has been decided by your school or by your department, or by a committee, or is it an individual decision, or it's a team decision? That's what I want to know.
In the panel, we are 4 or 5 persons who are taking the interviews these days. So it is our decision. We 4 have jointly decided.
So it's a team decision. So it's a team decision that you have sat together and discussed and come up with, right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Now let's move to the next part of the discussion. That is what makes an effective decision maker. So if you have listened to all our friends who have been talking about, so Dr. Sethi says, whom we need to hire, right? So that's like, it's an open question, you can talk about whichever question, how you come to a decision of hiring. That was a question. So what makes an effective decision maker? The first point that if we gather from all the discussion that was happening here is, they have to choose an action that gives the best outcome for themselves and for others. Say whether Koili chooses the exact student that's required for the assembly, or Inku chooses whether to go with an examination or continue with her job. These are you're focusing on the best outcome. Okay, so that is the point. Next is, you enter into decision-making process with an open mind, and you do not let your biases sway your decisions. An effective decision maker is one who can handle their biases effectively. So every human being has a certain sense of bias. We are no way can we become absolutely bias-free. I guess we will become what we call Siddha. If you become absolutely bias-free, then you become Siddha. You become the one with the salvation, right? The one who has been has received salvation. But we cannot claim so. So every human being has a certain sense of bias, which is there lying with us. So if we can downplay our biases, our decisions will be more effective. You can make decisions more effective if you are rational, rather than if you just go with the flow, or if you just focus on the emotions, or just focus on the short-term impact, you will probably be making wrong decisions. And you are researching alternatives and understanding the consequences before you make a decision. Unless you research and unless you find out what works best, you would not be knowing how to go ahead with that particular decision. To continue with what makes an effective decision maker, they involve others when appropriate and use knowledge. So let's go back to Koili's example. If I'm not able to find a particular student, or a student that I would require to be present for a particular task, then I talk to my colleagues, I talk to other teachers, and together we decide. Okay. So you have to involve others when necessary. Knowledge, you have to use data and opinions to shape the final decisions. Nothing can come up if you are working alone all the time. Understand that in today's workplace, you are in a team. Every time you're working, you are possibly working in a team. Except for some jobs where you may have to work alone. Say, for instance, creative field. If you're an author writing a book, you're probably writing it alone. But still, you have to work with the publisher house, you have to work with the editors, you have to work with the marketing agent. So even if you are in a creative profession like the writing content, you'll probably be still involved in some group work, some team work. So opinion of other people, the knowledge of things happening around you, data, all of this can help you make a decision better. You always decide and you stick to your decision. You know why you chose a particular option rather than the other. You are sure of this particular choice, and that's why you stick your guns to this particular choice. You have stuck to your decision no matter what. So an effective decision maker is one who knows why they have gone ahead with a particular option. Right? You're confident in your decisions and you rarely hesitate after reaching conclusions. So once you have decided, you don't hesitate. Say, for instance, say you are planning to buy a property, all right, because your family is growing, you need a bigger house, or you can afford to buy. So you are looking for properties, and suddenly you find out that the properties that you like are not the ones that you can afford. So you have to redo the whole thing. Should I go for buying a property? But if you have assumed that this is something that needs to be done, if you have understood that this is the need of the hour, then you have to make it work. All right, and you have to stick to your decisions. I'll come back and talk about this again, how sometimes hesitation can be an issue with decision making. To continue with effective decision makers' behavior or habits is they do not take long to make a decision. It's not that we have all the time in the world to make a decision. You have to decide, and you have to decide within a certain period of time. That is always limited, especially if it's an organizational decision. You do not have enough time to ponder on forever. I mean, you probably have just about enough time. Have limitless time. So if you understand the constraints of time, you will probably be a better decision maker. You are a good decision maker, you're an effective decision maker if you can strike a balance between a good and a quick decision. So decision have to be good and decision has to be quick enough. So precision is something that needs to be practiced in terms of decision making. Effective decision makers also do not categorize ideas or situations or people in binaries. You cannot say that this is a good decision, this is a bad decision, this is the right decision, this is a wrong decision, this is the right person, this is a wrong person, this is a good situation, this is a bad situation. You always try to find the middle path. Right. An effective decision maker is one who can always find the middle path, who is sure that there is some gray area that can be captured. The next part would be about types of decisions. I'm focusing on two types of decisions because as academics, most of you being academics, you probably are decisions where these two types of decisions prevail. The first is called programmed decisions. Programmed decisions are routine decisions. Say, for instance, if a student doesn't come to your class for continuous periods, say, for instance, a student is not reporting for class for the last 1 month, you would report that to your higher authority, maybe to the dean's office or vice principal's office or to the administration, whoever is your authority to handle the attendance, right? So unless you report that, the thing will escalate. So this is a programmed decision. There will be a rule set. If a student doesn't come to class for 1 day, you give mark absent. If the student doesn't come for 1 week, you mark absent and you report it to the next authority. If a student doesn't come for the next 1 month, the next higher authority, then you prepare a written report, then you ask for clarification from the student. These are all routine decisions. These are simple. Sometimes they could be complex. Say, for instance, a student has been ill and does not have the means to communicate to the school. So then what do? Should you take this person as an absent person or should you consider some other way? So sometimes it could be complex, but most of the times it's routine decisions. So the criteria that go into making decisions are also known as what's it, familiar, something that is estimated to have a reasonable degree of accuracy. All right. Then the other part is non-programmed decisions. Non-programmed decisions are unstructured, new decisions. All right. So these are ones that give you more challenge. Information is more likely to be ambiguous, incomplete. Suddenly, something happens. Suddenly, the school shut down and online classes had to be done. All right. So that's a non-programmed decision. Nobody had ever known that this is how it will be. So you have to exercise some thought into it. You have to be creative and you have to find out a solution that will work. All right. And it can sometimes require more people in the decision making process. Program decisions can be taken on your own, can be done on your own. Doesn't require much of the administration or much of the involvement of other people. Like if a student is absent in my class, I'll mark this person absent. It doesn't have to be discussed in a forum, but non-programmed decisions will require to be discussed in forums. Okay, I have the next task for you. I would require you to, the first task for you to discuss here is to give an example of a program decision you took in the recent past that turned out to be effective or ineffective. Now, you might question, why are you asking about ineffective decisions? See, if you are not aware of our failures, we will not succeed. So you can talk about either a decision that was programmed in nature and turned out to be effective, or one that was programmed but still turned out to be ineffective. And then you have to tell me why it turned out to be effective or ineffective. So can you please go ahead quickly, please? Okay, let's not task 2 now. I'll just get the response for task 1 first. I believe everybody understood what is programmed decision and what is non-programmed decision. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Programmed are routine decisions, non-programmed are decisions that you are seeing for the first time. This is not routine, something that is just that has come out of the blue suddenly and you are not ready about it. Right. Yes, please go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. Sunny said here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, we had our midterm examinations. So in those midterm examinations, there were few students who could not appear. And that was due to the COVID in their family, or some of the students were COVID infected. So in the first midterm exam, they were not able to appear. So generally, whenever students don't turn up in the midterm exam due to some specific reasons, we always give them a second chance. We take second internals. So we get the second internals a month later. And in those second internals also, there were 2-3 students who were absent in the first internals also. They again did not appear in the second internal. Generally, in second internal also, if students don't turn up, so we mark them absent and give them 0 in the internal. So that is what we did. But later on, once the result was displayed, then those 2-3 students turned up and they said that earlier my family members were having COVID, so I was taking care of them, so I was not at all able to give the exam. In the second time, I got COVID and still I was not able to give the exam. So please do not mark me 0 and take some other measure to give me the marks. So then we had to go to the management, decided, and then we kept one more internal for them.
Okay, and they turned up for the final one, the third internal?
Yeah, third they gave them. There were 3 students, so they have given them the third, but actually third is not in our rule.
The decision turned out to be effective because they could bring them to the table for the
rule was only saying we will give them the second chance, that's it. Otherwise, we should mark them 0. So that rule was ineffective because we had to give them a third chance also because of this COVID situation.
That's very well said. Very apt for an example for program decision. Is anybody else would like to talk about a program decision that they took, which was effective or ineffective? No?
Hello? Yes, can I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I would like to share an such incident. Like in our batches of students, we used to give some kind of recognition in some terms of medal to the students who score the highest CGPI in the 4-year program or 2-year program. Now, this is a program method. So we have this criteria, whosoever gets the highest CGPI will get that medal. But as a result of this, what happens? Many of the students only focus on this exam-based things. They do not participate in other curricular activities, debates, and they just focus on that. So they may scoring very high, but overall development sometimes hinders, or that becomes a barrier. So we have to rethink how these factors of performance, because this is a little bit of controversial also. How will you evaluate different competition and bring it on a one scale and compare it with CGPI and add it? There cannot be always a very foolproof or formula to do it, but somehow we have to do it. So otherwise it is making the students perform in one dimension only. So that program method decision making was not working.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's another aspect of how program decisions can work. So now let's focus on non-program decisions. Please come up with examples where there was a non-program decision that had to be taken by you in the recent past, and it was probably effective, or it could also be an example of a decision that was ineffective. And then you have to tell us how it was effective or ineffective. Can I get responses for this one, please?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, related to the example which have just quoted by Vikas sir and Sunny sir for task 1, I'm relating it to the same. Like in our university, after the result analysis, we do have to make a report, that is the action taken report, for the students who are the advanced learners and who are the slow learners. So initially what we were doing for the advanced learners, as they have just said, that okay, they have performed well in the studies, so we have to give them a kind of token of gift or a prize or an appreciation to the students who have performed extremely well. So what we do, we used to engage them into some co-curricular activities. For example, they would be handling or as a moderators into some conferences or workshops, so that they can groom themselves into that part. So the slow learners, they used to appear for the special reappear examinations or the summer examinations, where they can they get another opportunity to perform and clear their examinations. So this is what we were doing, and it was a programmed decision. But we made a slight change in that. Like the students who were the slow learners, we have given them the opportunity to participate equally to the advanced learners into the co-curricular activities, where they can showcase their skills and we can see how efficient they are. Why we did that? So that we can tell them that you can also be the part of that activity, not just as an advanced learner, but yes, you can get it every time if you would be performing well. So indirectly we did that. So, and to be very honest, it has turned up as an effective technique for us. The students who were not performing or who were just below average students, but they were clearing their examinations, they have started participating in the classroom studies, and the performance level has improved to a very higher level. So this is my example.
So that's very satisfying at the end of the day, right? So you took a risk and then it paid off.
Right.
Now, decisions are often decisions that involve a certain degree of risk. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share about non-program decisions? Okay. So let's move then to the next part, where we will talk about techniques that may improve individual decision making. So some techniques that are simple to think of and that can be very helpful for program decisions are, there are two techniques actually that are very helpful for program decisions. One is called heuristics. It was popularized in the 1970s initially, and afterwards it has been updated by multiple literature. Peter Law and Gosman, people have worked on it, and they have come up with this idea that heuristics is a very, very essential skill to have for program decisions. So what is this? It's like mental circles, you know, generalizations, rules of thumb. If this happens, then this is the consequence, right? So the benefit of it is that it is very, very helpful in saving time. It saves time. The other one is called satisficing, as in satisfy plus suffice. So this is where you choose the first acceptable solution. So let me give an example. You want to buy a new TV, all right? That's a new television that you want to buy. You want to buy a television that's probably 55 inches, the size of the screen, and then it should be compatible with your net packages, and so it should be a smart TV, and it should be within a certain budget. All right, so you go to the market, try to find out a 55-inch TV that is a smart TV, and that has to be within say 50,000 bucks. All right, so you will probably get 10 options. Out of this, you choose one that you think is the most appropriate for you. This is not the best TV in the market. All right, this is not the best TV. 55-inch smart TV within 50,000. This is not the best TV, because 55-inch smart TV you could probably be getting also at 70,000 or 75,000. But your budget is 50,000, so you have to stick to that. And you decided I will buy TV because that fits my that ticks all the boxes. Like it has 55 inches, it is a smart TV, and it will fit well with my Indian package. Alright, so that is where you call satisficing, which is like it satisfies all the criteria and it is sufficient to meet your need. It is not the best one, it's not the optimal one, but it is definitely helpful. So it saves time. You don't go around searching for something that is available within 50,000 and 55 inches, because you'll never get that. The best one will be 75,000. So it helps in small impact decisions. It also, like if a decision has a small impact, smaller impact, it's very helpful. Techniques that can improve individual decision making, as in terms of non-programmatic decisions, would be very simple: talk to people, be creative, conduct research, practice evidence-based decision making. So if something has worked in the past, probably will now as well. Think about the long-term implications. What is the long-term implication? Remember, program decisions will probably have short-term impacts because they are routine things. But non-program decisions will only appear once in a while. So you will probably have to think about the long-term consequences more clearly than you think about it when you are taking a program decision. Also consider the ethical implications. We have talked about ethics in detail in the last class, so I will not do that anymore. The benefits are many. One is that non-program decisions are qualitative decisions to be made. So it helps you qualitatively decide. It generates more option and reduces bias. It improves quality. Improves quality in terms of that when you have decided on a non-program decision, you don't go back to it often, because it stands with you for quite some time. It sticks with you for some time. So depending on that aspect, qualitatively, non-program decisions have to be thought very, very effectively, thought of very well. In terms of group decision making, some techniques that you can follow are to have diverse members in the group. The more diversity you relish in a group, the more number of perspectives will be available to you to decide from, and ultimately the richness will reflect in your decision. Getting a devil's advocate in the group is very helpful, because a devil's advocate will tell you all the negative things, all the bad things that will happen. Right? So you will negate all the bad possibilities by listening to the devil's advocate. Right? So having somebody who is always criticizing, who is always finding fault, is also very helpful in a group, especially if you're trying to make a decision. At the same time, encourage consultation and collaboration. This takes us back to the first session that we talked about consultation and collaboration, which is how you build a team, and which is how you have a healthy energy in the team to go for good decisions. And then help group members find common ground. Some people might might have different perspectives, different agenda. So try to bring them all together and see that they can. All right. So this is like, again, the benefits are the same as in terms of non-programmatic decisions. It improves quality, generates more options, reduces bias, reduces groupthink, which is a dangerous thing. When everybody in the group thinks about the same errors or same possibilities, same positives or same negatives, the group's thinking becomes narrow. So devil's advocate will help you overcome the problem of groupthink. Also, when you are taking people together and helping them find common ground, you will minimize conflict in future. It prevents suppression of dissent as well. If somebody doesn't like an idea, they can express it freely. They will not feel bad about it if later on this is not becoming a part of the final decision, because they have been heard, they have been listened to, then they feel involved, they feel cared for, in the sense that whatever they had, they could communicate. In the end, it will minimize conflict. Because in group decisions, conflict is a difficult possibility, and it is very common. Even though every time we try to take a decision, we try not to have a conflict, it's very possible that there will be scope for conflict. So if you help group members find a ground that works for all of them, find something that's common, it will be very helpful in minimizing conflict. I should just quickly go to barriers that can be there for effective decision making, and then we will go back to you to get some clear experience examples. First one is called bounded rationality. In terms of what is bounded rationality, it's like the idea that even if we get all the information, even if we get all the data, even if we get all the opinion, we are not sure if we can process them all together. We cannot really grasp all the possible alternatives, and we cannot understand the implication of what will happen if I choose this, if I choose this, if I ignore this, what will happen? Because nobody has seen future. You cannot make calculations about future. You can only make as many calculations, but you cannot predict it totally. The next one is called escalation of commitment, where you have committed to a decision, you have decided something, then you feel like I should stick to this. All right. Sometimes even at the cost of knowing that it would be a wrong decision. Like you have decided that you will not do X, but you know that not doing X could be harmful in the longer run. All right. So it can seem easier to stay on course, stick to the decision that you have already taken and not change it. That's again a barrier because it stops you from revising your decision. Then time constraint is a possible barrier, because when there is little time to do something, we are very, very likely to cause errors to our judgment. We are not likely to take a good decision, especially a non-programmed decision, if time constraint is there. The next three will be uncertainty. If the conditions are uncertain, we cannot know the outcome of each alternative until we have actually chosen that alternative. So you're not sure. If something is absolutely uncertain, you don't know what to do, right? So there it can become a barrier. Then personal biases. The tendency of human beings is to assume that everybody is similar to us, that everything is the way we perceive it. So if there is something that is unfamiliar, that is new, or that's different, we do not appreciate it. We feel that this is not going to work because this is something I'm not comfortable with. This is something I'm not familiar with. I don't know about this. So those kind of decisions I will not take. That's a personal bias. This is how personal biases reflect in our decisions. And then the final one is conflict. Most people don't want conflict. They want to have a happy, peaceful life. They don't want conflict. And in the process, if there is any scope for conflict in any decision, they will try to avoid that particular decision. So, but sometimes the best decision could be one that involves some kind of a conflict. And then that becomes a session where I would really like, this is something very important for the session. I would really like to hear from you in these two parts. What do you do when your teaching plan for the day is upset by unforeseen circumstances? So give me an example of when this happened recently. I'm sure you have a lot of examples here. So please come up with some. Can you please respond to this? This is very important for this session because this is like getting directly from you, the experiences that you have. What do you do when your teaching plan for the day is upset by unforeseen circumstances? Has it ever happened with you? It happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am. It happens.
Yes, ma'am. Can I speak?
Yeah, can I?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
sure.
Somali, is it Somali who is speaking?
Yeah, yes.
Please.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Well, it happened today only. Like, I'm supposed to come. I mean, according to the roster, I'm supposed to come to the school. So, but this session is also at 10:30, and I also had a class that time. So I had to, actually make a sudden change in the lesson plan, and I quickly made a RCW, paper and posted in the Padlet, and I showed it in the class. Okay, so that I can do the revision, oral revision. So that's what I had to change the plan. I mean, lesson plan there. So it's a quick. I mean, it depends on your experience, like how you can handle the situation.
Yes. So if you're starting out, if you're a new teacher, you'll probably be very nervous about change in your schedule or change in your session plan. If you have already had a handling of classroom or comfortable doing this, your plan is the same, right?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I didn't have a problem because I'm teaching for a long time, so it was not a problem for me. But yes, those who are, new to this profession, maybe it will be a bit problem for them.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, I have one question. If I can ask now.
Yes, please.
Yeah, since morning, I was just having this question in my mind. Like, can you please tell me which decisions are difficult to take, professional decisions or the personal ones?
It depends on the quality of decision and the context involved. As I mentioned in the very beginning of the session, no rule fits all decisions. It's not a one size fits all. Decision making is a dynamic process. It is on multiple factors. Okay, so we cannot say categorically that professional decisions are easy to take or individual decisions are professional. Private decisions are easy to take, or professional decisions are difficult, private decisions are easy. And also it depends on what is the type of decision that you're making. It's the program decision, it's a non-program decision, it's the individual decision, it's the team decision. So there are multiple factors that come to play when you're talking about a particular type of decision. Okay, is that satisfactory? Does it satisfy me?
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, anybody else would like to mention about this? Or we have one more question. Have you ever faced a situation when you had to take a decision which did not fall within your area of responsibility? What decision did you make and how did you come to it? So a decision that you probably took which was not under your profile, under your responsibility, but you had to do it. Can you come up with an example for that? No? Nobody has done that? See, it could be a personal decision, it could be an organizational decision. Sometimes you become the only one available to take a decision. Right? Even though you probably did not have the mandate to do it. Have to do it. Can you tell about such an example? I hope I'm still audible to everybody. No, nobody would like to talk about this? That's kind of strange because I'm not sure why you would not like to talk.
I'm still thinking of such a situation.
You're thinking of such a situation. Yes. So, Shivra, could you think about it? Are you ready with some? Yes. Tips?
No, I'm not ready. I'm just still thinking. Yeah.
Oh, you're still thinking. Oh, you're still thinking. And you're saying we are thinking. See, you have already made it completely, right?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am, it happens, all the time when there are, certain, programs in school. So, you are assigned certain duties or responsibilities the day before, but at that very moment, a sudden, requirement comes where you have to shift and you have to do that responsibility as well. You cannot shed off that. So, that is the time that can be an example where you have to do other, you have to take other responsibilities, you have to complete other responsibilities as well. So then that
Front as well, from your personal life as well. Sometimes things happen so suddenly, and then you assume responsibility immediately.
yes, yes,
Even though it was somebody else's job, and you
yes,
have to
true,
assume the responsibility. Okay.
true,
Okay.
very true.
So something very simple as who will pick the child from school today. So probably it was decided that Tuesdays it would be the father would pick the child, but then suddenly you find that you are the one who is picking.
Another thing, parent teachers meeting, who will attend it? I
Who
have
will
my
attend it?
job and my husband has his client meeting, so who
Right.
will join that meeting?
Yes. So
So
it is
that is,
always, so it is like a deal. 3 months you attend, 3 months I attend, then it gets all
but it
jumbled
doesn't
up.
happen in my case. I have to attend all the time. So
It's all jumbled up, and every time you are the one who, who tends to attend it, and the father skips the meeting, right? The husband
yes,
skips. So yes, it is like that. So something like that also happens in institutions. Sometimes you are going for your class, and the next class is free for you. You thought of reading something, or you thought of going to the library. Then a colleague comes and tells you that I cannot take the class. I have a meeting. Please go ahead and take the next class as well. And you have to do that, and you have to decide that I have
yes,
to take
yes,
the class. Then what do I teach? Right. So suddenly, you are a social science teacher. You have to go to the maths class, and you don't know what to do. So you have to suddenly come up with a plan.
very true. Yeah, it happens
So
when you have given the substitution classes suddenly.
yes, right. So anybody else who would like to mention? We can take
Yeah. Myself, Shipra, I would like to quote one incident.
Yes,
Like
please,
in
please.
school only, there was a power cut, and my students were feeling very restless. It's quite an old situation when even generator was not working. So I decided to take them in the field, but with the due permission from the authority. Like I can't take the class just right outside the classroom. So, but I couldn't find the principal ma'am. So I took the decision. I took them out under the tree. I taught them, and fearing the consequences, मैंने कहा चलो जो होगा देखा जाएगा. But so at that time I took a decision which was not under my authority, but only when the students were pleading like that.
Thank you, Shivra.
Yeah.
So thank you, participants. I hope that this session also brought in a lot of different experiences to the forum and helped you understand how we can meet everyday challenges of decision making, and how when we have options, how do we handle these options? Sometimes these options are all good, sometimes these options are all insufficient, but we have to make them work. We have to take a decision and we have to be quick and precise, and we have to mind the time that's available, we have to mind the resources that are available, and still be effective in our decision making. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we can take a couple of questions, I guess, because I don't want to overshoot time and delay your next session, which I assume starts at 12. And if you want to reach me, or if you have any further queries, you can drop an email and I'll be happy to respond. So thank you very much, and it was wonderful teaching these 3 sessions. I would not say teaching, actually I would say sharing experiences. That is what we do in training sessions. Teaching happens with students. You are all teachers already, and you are probably much more experienced than I have. So I would really appreciate these opportunities in future as well to learn from you. And thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please. All right, this is
I would like to thank you for such a wonderful session. You're a really good speaker. We really enjoyed.
Thank you very much. So
yes, ma'am. Thank you for the thought-provoking sessions. I really enjoyed all the sessions that you have done. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, and I guess I can probably stop it here, and we can go back to your coordinator and stop sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Panda, for your thought-provoking session, and I find that most of the participants liked your sessions, and I'm really grateful to you for taking 3 sessions in a sequence of 3 days of this FDP. I hope you will be sharing more sessions in future if I get an opportunity to conduct any further FDPs under AICT or UGC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Can I leave now?
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Dear participants, the next session will start at 12 o'clock. Please log out from this session, and you can log in from the next session link, which I'm going to send you again in the WhatsApp group. Okay.
Thank you, sir.